Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us. You know how you've been exploring some cool English vocab?
Yeah.
Well, we're here to unpack some of that. And today it's dodgy, put off, fickle, and crikey to tell you what they mean, but also kind of like how they show you things about British culture in conversation.
It's really interesting how just one word can tell you so much about how a culture thinks. These words, I think, give you a look into British humor and skepticism, and also that British way of seeing something amazing in normal stuff.
Let's start with dodgy. It's like such a British word, like a warning, you know?
Dodgy is like your gut feeling saying stay away. It means something isn't reliable or it's risky, maybe even dangerous. It's that feeling when something seems too good to be true or just a little bit off.
Like when you see used car salesmen and they're smiling too much and the prices are crazy low, you just know something dodgy is happening.
Exactly. And the origin of the word is cool too. It comes from the verb dodge, which means to avoid something. So dodgy is literally about avoiding something that's iffy.
I've heard people use dodgy to describe all kinds of things, from shady business deals to like a weird-looking food truck.
Yeah, that's what's great about dodgy. You can use it in so many situations whenever you just don't trust something. It really shows how British people are careful and like to understate things.
Speaking of avoiding things, that makes me think of our next word, put off. I know I'm guilty of that one.
We all do it sometimes. Put off just means to delay something, postpone it. But it can tell you a lot about how we think about time and responsibility.
You said put off is used in both British and American English. But do you think maybe there are subtle differences in how they use it? Like if someone chooses put off instead of procrastinate, does that tell you something about them?
That's a really smart question. And yeah, you might be right. Put off sounds more casual than procrastinate. Like procrastinate is when you're actively avoiding something. Maybe put off is like a more relaxed way to say you're delaying something. While procrastinate means you're really struggling to manage your time.
So it's like put off is a little nudge. And procrastinate is like a wrestling match with your to-do list.
Exactly. Just choosing one word over another can tell you a lot about someone's personality and where they're from. It's crazy how these little word choices can show you how people think and act.
Okay, are you ready for a word that changes as much as the weather? Let's talk about fickle.
Ah, fickle. It's the perfect word for things or people that are always changing, like they can't make up their minds.
When I hear fickle, I think of friends who are always changing plans. Or they have a new favorite band every week.
Fickle has a really cool history, actually. It comes from the Old English word fickle, meaning deceitful or changeable.
So it's not just about changing. It's like you can't trust that person or thing because they might switch things up.
Exactly. That feeling of not being able to rely on something. That's what makes fickle such a powerful word.
All right, now get ready for a word that's just plain fun to say, crikey.
Crikey is a classic British exclamation. You use it when you're surprised or amazed, like that gut reaction when you see something unexpected or awesome.
When I first heard crikey, it reminded me of my grandpa. He always said it when something unexpected happened. Good or bad, it didn't matter. It makes me think about him and how one word can bring back memories like that.
Yeah, it's amazing how words can be connected to emotions like that. They become part of our experiences and change how we see the world.
Crikey also makes me think of like the Australian outback.
Yeah.
You know, Steve Irwin wrestling crocodiles and yelling crikey.
He definitely helped make it popular, but Crikey actually goes way back. It's thought to be a way of saying Christ without actually saying it. It became popular in 19th century Britain as a way to show you were surprised without being too religious.
So it's like a word that changed as society changed. It shows how people moved away from being so religious.
Exactly. It's a cool example of how language changes to reflect what people value and believe. Crikey started as a religious word, but it turned into a fun way to show surprise that anyone can use.
Wow, it's amazing how much these words tell you about British culture.
Yeah, it's like each word is a little piece of the culture's story. And when we learn about these words, we learn more about the people who use them.
So why is all this important for our listeners? Why should they care about these words?
Well, learning new words is always a good thing. It helps you say what you want to say and understand what other people mean. But words like dodgy, put off, fickle, and crikey, they're more than just definitions.
It's like you're learning a secret code. Now you can understand British humor and all those little cultural things.
Yeah.
And you could talk to people with more confidence.
You start to notice the hidden meanings and the rules that people follow when they talk. It's like learning a new language opens up a whole new world.
So for someone who's been studying these words, what's the best way to really learn them?
Use them. Don't be afraid to try using them in your own conversations. The more you use them, the more natural they'll sound.
It's like learning to ride a bike.
Yeah,
You might be wobbly at first, but with practice, it becomes easy.
exactly. And it's okay to make mistakes. That's part of learning any language.
So go ahead and try using Dodgy the next time you see a food truck that looks a little sketchy. Or say someone has fickle fashion sense if they're always changing their style. You could even say Crikey when something surprising happens. Just have fun with it.
I agree. Have fun with it and don't be afraid to try new things with language.
So I have a question for you. We talked about how these words reflect British culture. But what other words make you think of British English?
That's a good question. There are so many, but one that comes to mind is cheeky.
Cheeky, that's a great one. It really captures that British sense of humor. You know, that mischievous, playful kind of humor.
It means someone is willing to push the boundaries a little, to make fun of authority, but in a lighthearted way.
It's like saying, I'm going to break the rules a little bit. But don't worry, it's all in good fun.
Exactly. It's about finding humor in unexpected situations and not taking things too seriously. That's what makes cheeky so British.
And you can use cheeky to describe so many things. A funny comment, a bold outfit. It's a word that's all about being yourself and not following all the rules.
Yeah. Cheeky shows that independent spirit and that unique British humor that often surprises people.
It's really cool how some words can be like ambassadors for a culture. They tell you so much about a country's values and humor and how they see the world.
It's true. It's like each word is a tiny window into a culture's soul. It shows you their history, their traditions, and their unique way of seeing things.
That was quite a journey learning about those words.
Yeah, it really was. We dug deep into those words, and I think our listeners now really get how important words are. They shape how we see the world.
Yeah, for sure. We didn't just learn the definitions, did we? We learned where the words came from and how they fit into British culture and even like the psychology behind them.
We saw how Dodgy shows that British skepticism, and Put Off tells us about our relationship with time. Fickle is all about how unpredictable things can be. And Crikey, well, that's just a fun word with a lot of history.
And we even learned how cheeky sums up British humor and that rebellious spirit.
It's been fascinating to see how language, culture, and identity are all connected.
So as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with one last thought. We talked about how words reflect culture, right? But have you ever noticed how some words just scream a certain time period?
Oh, absolutely. Words are like little time capsules. They carry all the slang and trends and even the attitudes of a certain time.
Like think about words like groovy or far out from the 60s. They take you right back to that time of peace and love and all that. Or how about rad and gnarly from the 80s? They make you think of skateboarding and bright colors. It's like they're snapshots of the past.
It's amazing how those words can bring back such clear memories. And those cultural connections, too. It's like they hold the key to a specific moment in history.
Exactly. So I want you to think about the words that define our time now. What words will people in the future think of when they think of the 2020s?
What words represent our digital world and social media and all the things we care about? It's really interesting to think about which words will become like fossils of our time.
Yeah, it's a question worth thinking about. It shows how language is always changing, just like the world around us. It reminds us that language isn't fixed. It's a living thing that shapes us, and we shape it.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep playing with words. Who knows what amazing words you'll discover next?
That's it for this deep dive. See you next time.